Hello and welcome to another fun functioning episode of Super Deep, a Mad Mage adventure with the Gravehearts.
Hey!
We've
Hello.
got Meryl. We've got
Hello.
Sarah. We've got Selah. And we've got James.
And we've got James.
And I'm so close to the camera, and I'm Jake. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jake. This is my beard face. And
I feel like the beard wasn't even in it. I feel like it was all over
Just,
here.
yeah, it's just all my
this is
my
my
T-zone.
eyeballs.
All right. So last week, Jimmy Dell was not with us. He was out of town,
Out of town.
having fun, and Dell was not with the group. He had been killed in SUPERDEEP. We were stuck inside of basically a magical alternate reality that we found that the Extremator. This Illitherate.
It's like
High
illiterate.
fiver. Here.
It's like what?
It's like illiterate.
High fiver.
Illiterate.
That's the same, like,
there you go.
Nice.
Contaminant.
Illiterate. So a more powerful mind flayer, a mind flayer that is kind of like a colony lead. If the Elder Brain is the hub of the mind flayers, like world, then the Illiterate is its liaison. It's emissary. And Dell has learned, and when you guys are removed from the program, and you find Dell, and Dell is perfectly fine. He's drinking tea. He's sitting on a pillow on the floor in this very kind of cold and sterile room, and the Illiterate is there we go. Hey, he's sitting there talking, and you can see he's getting out of a contraption, and you guys are kind of covered in this thick goo, the smelly, mucusy kind of goo. But if anyone has prestidigitation, you can just remove that from your hair. And you don't?
I don't.
Oh wait, all my cantrips don't count.
No, you can use all your
Then
cantrips.
yes, okay.
Yeah.
That's silly.
I'm making Tara. She has so many spells now because they're all level 13. I'm making Tara pull her prepared spells.
Thanks for the dice.
I have 18.
Yeah, dude. Thank you again for the dice, Mayor.
Weird spells.
Mayor Robin Bobin. These cool ass dice. Cool.
You have something in your beard. Just so you know, yeah. There you go, you're great.
A little bit.
You just said it so like.
Little bit.
How could you?
I
Just
didn't
a little
How
know
could
why
you?
I said it like that.
How could you have
Sorry.
something in your beard, you monster?
You monster.
So the Extremator, basically it explains that long ago it attempted to seek help basically from Waterdeep via Mother being able to travel every level of the Undermountain dungeon by assuming the different forms. She's a shapeshifter. And she's able to turn into the different monsters that are on each level, and she just
Growl or whatever.
yeah. So she just sneaks her way up. The only way that they've been able to avoid Hallister knowing about her. So that's a secret of theirs. So that's something that would be maybe useful to your characters. The kind of thing that you could throw somebody under the bus maybe if you're in a bad situation. We learned a couple things at the end of last session. You saw an image. The Extremator showed you through one of his viewing planes. These like floating planes of crystallized like glass that kind of like are suspended in the air. He shows you the inner like chamber of Hallister's like workshop and laboratory where you met with him that one time, and you both see your eldest sister. What was her name again? Maven. So Maven's there, looking extra stern, and you can also see that there's someone else with her. You don't know who it is, but you can see like a,
Humanoid?
Yeah, it's a humanoid. There's another person there with her, but they're just out of the view. Also, as soon as he touches the pane and reveals this to you, Hallister turns around and you can see him screaming something, and he blocks the magic. I mean, he's all powerful in his domain. What else did we learn last session? Anything specific? I don't think we learned anything specific about it.
No.
We learned about Halleck and his connection to the monster that guards the passageway that leads to the last 3 levels. There are no more magical portals. There's no more magical leaps down to the bottom of the dungeon. You have to go by foot unless the Lithoraid reveals you have a horned ring. And he says there's a handful of rings that Hallister made for his apprentices that he wears one himself, that Hallister does, that you can use it to teleport up and down and out of the Undermountain. It's kind of like a magic bypass, and that's how Hallister travels around. So, if you were to find one of those, that would be advantageous. They're incredibly hard to find. Actually, I don't know if the book intends you to have one, but
That's for sure what they are, though. They're not master and slave rings in disguise.
No,
Okay.
I don't think 5th edition's gonna touch this the ring of the master with its new kind of more friendly, approachable thing. I think I in one of these adventures, maybe this one, there's a torture room with drow, and it describes them specifically as in some BDSM play. It's they're torturing them, but it's consensual. They make sure to point that out. I mean, I applaud them for it. I think it's awesome. You can always spice it up. That's a terrible thing to say. You can always make it more dire
spicier.
and more awful if you want to. But it's nice that the product they put out is kind of neutral to that, so it's appropriate for. I don't think a lot of kids are gonna be running out of Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Anyways, it's mostly just writing. There aren't a lot of pictures and stuff. I lost train of thought.
Kids can't read.
We're talking about
Kids
there's
can't
no
read.
magical portals down to the bottom 3 floors.
It's hard to find those
Whoa,
rings.
whoa, whoa.
Yeah, so-
portals?
So there's ring. Yeah, you guys are gonna have to actually go by foot. And the first obstacle in your way, there are a couple obstacles in your way. The direct tunnel that leads down and to the next level is being guarded by a frantic and ravenous Neolithid, which is a horrible. Normally, it's caused by thousands of the little slugs they use to transform people into mind flayers. So that's how they procreate. And you can just imagine that, you guys are kind of walking around this complex, and the things I'm telling you, this mind flayer is just speaking to you. He's being
read about it.
yeah, and he seems he's very open. He has a very kind. Remember, once you roll insights, as I'm giving you this information, you can just this information dump can be interesting.
13.
13?
17.
I love that you just roll a 13. You're like,
I know. Well,
I hate rolling
I
that.
have a +8. I want to get above a 20.
Can I roll it even if I don't have it?
You can roll the wisdom. Yeah. Sure.
23 insight.
Nat 20.
Oh man, Flannery!
Well, there are no auto successes on skill checks, so.
Sorry, I just rolled a nat 20.
No. I mean, it's a success. You auto success, but it doesn't mean you know what I mean.
No, yeah, I don't get to read it.
You know
Yeah,
all.
you don't he doesn't drop his diary.
That's just my favorite thing in the world is the insight.
Yeah.
Like a nat 20 on an insight roll.
Oh, man.
I'm
This
gonna show
thing,
you guys a meme
I-
later. You're gonna laugh about it.
actually, this is probably pretty apt since you've spent maybe 6 hours with this creature now, and it's kind of talked to you. Maybe you're even kind of helping it explain things it explains to you. I feel like you have been kind of bewildered.
I mean, when I
Not in a
found
magical,
myself,
not in
yeah.
a magical kind of way, but this creature could very easily have ripped your skull
No,
open
it
and
totally had me.
yeah, and it's not doing that. You have also, as you guys are walking around, it's kind of talking to you. You've noticed that it's taking you. I said this last week. It's taking you to very specific places, and it's base. There are lots of doorways that it's not taking you through. If you reference them with your nat 20, you can tell that he's hiding something. Whatever it's hiding, you can't. The problem is it's an alien creature, so you can tell that maybe there's a change in its demeanor, but what that means is almost impossible to read because it doesn't react like us. It doesn't have lips and it's got big wet eyes and
Gross.
yeah, exactly. But as it is, you are welcome to stay on this level as if it was
Home forever.
home forever. As if it was a friendly base. They
Oh, time.
this
Well,
is
here's Dell's character sheet. He wants to hang out
Yeah.
forever.
no, that's fine.
You'll be right
Straight
here.
You are restricted to the
As far
areas.
You're not coming?
You're restricted to all the areas. I'm not going to read them
Some
all the
traps.
places, but you're restricted to very specific places. And
Mine.
you are. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think like 4 things. You are. You have to stay in like a specific place, and they kind of expect you to help them. It is clear that he expects you to help, but mostly because of how dire he talks about his situation being. He says that there were, this was a whole colony, and now it's just him and Mother, and their brains gone. He's just kind of like in desperation mode, and he's trying, and you kind of get the idea maybe that he's asking, but he also assumes that you will because you guys are traveling down. He feels like you have a coalescent path, so he doesn't see any reason why you wouldn't say yes.
Sailor would want to help him.
For sure.
Yeah.
You guys, he leads
Betrayed there.
he leads you to like it's inside the cavern, and it's a more or less like a floating gazebo. It's like this metallic structure with 10 prongs of different angles, and it kind of floats around. This crystalline sounds kind of floating. I like this soundscape. So it's like a very there are like magic powers, specifically psionic powers. These things use their mind, and you can tell that whatever the building, the structure. Remember, I said it was built into the ground, and there's a river running through it that powers it. It seems to be amplifying his psychic abilities. So as you're walking through this place, things are being moved around and with his mind, and it's kind of cool. And also, I think you rolled pretty high. I think you'd all be like, this is fine, but I also don't want to stay here. You know what I mean? Like, this is cool. I maybe trust him, but I don't want to. And he leads you to this space, and this is like an open air. This was an open air, like, surgical observatory where other mind flayers would come and watch as they would dissect humanoids, and then they would feed on the mind, the psychic energies, and then the entire crowd could. It's what they do. Like, when one feeds, they all can feed vicariously. But it's been retrofitted to kind of make makeshift humanoid quarters. Roll me another insight.
11, 15.
16.
14. The first thought that strikes both of you as you're kind of walking through this space is that they're like cots and mess kits and socks. There's like extra stuff for humans here, and it definitely kind of paints a picture of you not being the first people here. He definitely didn't summon these things out of thin air. Like, Mother must have brought these from Waterdeep, So.
Beware of the people.
I mean, these are just supplies for people.
Okay.
They don't necessarily look like they were owned by anybody. That's not something you can tell. But
It's
you
not like a bunch of
no. It's just like he's taking you to a place that like where you can rest and you can kind of call your own space. It's outside of the complex. It's inside the cavern, but it's in this like there's like a atmosphere of like of temperature and like it has a little bit of like a sound blocking kind of like magical effect on it. So it's like restful, but let's see. Taylor just said a mind flayer human buffet room turned bed and breakfast. No thanks. That's funny. Yeah, so you guys can like you said you stay here, and with that he pretty much departs, ready to head back into Ultradeep. And as he does, Mother kind of shakes her head like the way someone does when they're worried about someone. Like he's like, I don't know if you want to interact with her, but she's kind of just hanging out. She just kind of like stands at the edge of the platform, and she's wearing like a poncho. She always wears a poncho in her natural form, so who knows what she's got. you know, if she's got a weapon on her, I mean, she's.
Talk to her.
She is a weapon.
Talk to her.
Yeah. So only way down to the lower level is through that Neolithid, yes?
She's like, the only way we know.
There's no other way you know of.
Not that, I mean, if I knew of a way, I'd already be down there. I'd already ripped that wizard's brain from his skull, and we'd already be free of this place.
Are you a mind flayer or are you just a changeling?
She says, she looks at you and, I don't know, roll a persuasion.
15.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
She kind of walks up to you, saunters. She's much smaller than you. She's only like 5'6" or so.
Well, I'm only 5'6".
Okay.
Because remember I shrank because of the shield.
Yeah.
That freaking
But
shield.
she's a smaller frame
Yeah.
than you, even though you know she can turn into much bigger creatures. She gets close enough that you are within like reaching distance of each other, and she says, "I'm something else altogether," and she opens her face, and as she does, you see a mixture of thousands of like wormy like tendrils that seem to be made of like a glowing star-filled like plasma. And make me a wisdom saving throw, please.
Neat.
Brilliant. Sends me home.
It's a lot. 27.
You good at this or something? Yeah. She kind of, and in the middle of this is like a bright white glowing light. So all you can see is her silhouette, and her face just is like glowing at him right now.
Yeah.
And before you can even react, as soon as you stand up, it's just like as if it never was, not even like a shifting. And you're fine. You don't feel any different, but like that was intense either way.
Also probably a little rude. To be
Yeah.
like throwing wisdom checks in people's faces.
She said she's basically like, what she says is that my true form is incomprehensible to your mind.
Yeah.
She says we are from the far realm. We are from beyond this place. We were trapped here by this horrible bug. She's talking about Alistair. She's always had a superiority complex.
Right.
But that's because she just absolutely hates humans. She absolutely hates humanoids.
Is there anything you can give us to help us to maybe defeat the Neolithid? Or maybe there's some information about it you know that we don't.
She says, let me see. She says, let me see what I can find out. She's going to
And
go
please
back.
don't flash me again.
She says, I'll do my best.
Okay, thank you.
Where is... Oh, this guy, they're all in.
No, more on that.
Yeah, she says, let me go see what I can find out from our databases.
Thank you.
Oh my god, then 1,000 people run in the room.
Oh no!
This is a stampede.
Oh my god, get out of the way.
I'm
Where
little.
did they all come from?
Oh,
I just
no.
forgot to put on a little repeat. So she's gonna leave, and when she comes back, I will give you. She's gonna have a little bit of information for you because
Cool.
she has no reason. She wants at the very least to prove to you that she's as on the level as she has, at the most on the level she's ever been with you.
Okay.
But she is not concerned about winning your affection or cares about you. And it's clear that she's the one that brought down all these supplies. She's been recruiting people. You guys may not be the first people down here.
That have tried this.
Yes.
Cool.
So
Well, they weren't us.
I think the big reveal and wrapping up, if that's the kind
They
of like
weren't us.
that's kind of the capper on our prequel campaign, like where all the pieces were. And I think the big takeaway is that the characters really weren't special, and that Mother has groups and groups of people that she was trying to recruit for this
Right.
purpose. And
We've been tricked.
yeah, I don't know what your characters feel about that though. So, okay, let's.
It's been
I'm gonna.
slow.
It all ties together.
All right, I'm gonna give it back to you now, and you guys can investigate this space. Like I said, you're welcome to walk around it. The caverns ceilings is obscured by some sort of dark, billowy, smoky mist that you can see kind of rolling in like a slow motion effect, and then protruding through it are these jagged amethyst geodes that come out at different sizes, and it looks like a very like interesting, tumultuous landscape, and it kind of glows. The whole cave has a soft purple glow to it, and you like with your dark vision, you can pretty much see pretty good detail fairly far. So you don't really have the risk of like being Mother might have advantage on like might still be able to sneak up on you guys, but as far as like
Other things.
yeah, there's no, it doesn't look like there's secret monsters that he's got like in a pit. You know what I mean?
Are there any secrets down here?
Let's see. Well, let's see where you are right now. Because you're kind of away from the complex. That's maybe the other notable thing is that you're not really like on the turbine.
Sure.
Some secrets, baby. I like secrets.
This is Secrety Whispers.
What's my next character name?
Secrety Whispers.
That's it.
Best friends with Slippy Napkins.
That's it.
Secrety and Slippy.
Secrety.
So Disney
It's
Channel
not even
show.
a very good name. That's why I like it even more.
Yeah.
It only barely works.
Okay. Right here, you kind of fill out. There aren't really secrets, but the eye of Odak kind of looks around and says, basically that the architecture here makes him nauseous. Like looking at the structures, and he kind of is like, you kind of see like the eye on the shield kind of flickers, and he kind of like wants to close his eyes sometimes.
Weird.
So, and anytime he does that, you lose all those like static things that he does by seeing those things, like detect thoughts and stuff. But he kind of, the shield kind of shakes in your hand, and he's like, oh. But you don't see any secrets except for behind a bunch of supplies that have been kind of precariously put against a console. You can see the outline of an archway.
Hey, there we go. Let's take go and move all that shit. Like, you know.
Also, all this
Not
shit
very
you guys
carefully.
can pilfer through, and you can replenish your all your general
All your
store
mundane
goods.
gear.
Yeah, ropes and torches.
So, I'm gonna throw that shit out of the way though and be like, look, an archway.
Let's check that
Awesome.
out.
One of you two.
Is it
That's
just
your
open?
thing.
I check it for traps.
Good call.
Roll an investigation.
Is it like a hallway or is there a door?
No, it's just like a part of the architecture of this like gazebo thing that you're in. There's some consoles and like a frame of a wall that a bunch of like supplies are up against, and just kind of like stuck into it is part of Hallister's dungeon. Just like
It's that
thread.
I
portal.
like that.
It's just one of
Just
the
like
portals
that.
we
Yeah,
got.
it's just like it does look out of place, and it like was hidden on purpose from you.
Dope.
What'd you roll?
22.
It does not have any mechanical traps. The arch itself
It is a trap.
Maybe.
You're dead if you walk.
is a keystone carved with the image of a 6-fingered gauntlet. It looks like the only trap that might be on here would be Hallister's Elder Runes when they activate, because you never know if it's going to be
Good or bad.
good, bad, or both.
Would you want another pointer finger or another thumb? Try another thumb.
I don't get it.
6 fingers.
An extra pointer and then the thumb. Not an extra thumb. It just doesn't make sense.
Do
They're
you want
the
to
most
do you
opposing.
want to use any magic on it to figure out what
Can
this
I
is?
roll?
Do you
Do you want to
Upward
cast Legend
Turtle?
Lore or anything?
Yeah.
I didn't
I'll
take
keep
Legend
rolling.
Lore.
Uh-oh. Isn't it
Are you
ritual?
trying to talk me out of it or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's-
That's
Yes,
not
you
how
don't
I did
know.
it, though. How did I do that? Is that it?
Wait,
Why are you
maybe
doing it
I did
backwards?
take.
Am I doing it back?
It is not a ritual.
Um,
2 middle fingers.
no, I didn't.
This is what-
That's how you do it. Can I roll an
This is
Arcana? Just to
Oh
see
yeah, you
if
can roll
I
Arcana
learn
on it. Yeah,
anything.
both
These
both of you guys can roll Arcanas on it too.
Yeah, these are.
Do that magical stuff.
I can kill with these spells.
Yeah, I have expected like now.
My magic's in my charisma.
Oh,
Do you remember when you had that badass staff?
Do it
that had,
flashy.
Like, detect.
28.
That's a good roll.
No wait. 23 Arcana.
18 intelligence.
Cool. So you guys look at it. You can see that this archway
No.
will take you back to level 2.
What's at level 2?
Level 2? Fuck.
That's it?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it will take you back to
They'll
basically the start of the dungeon.
Well,
So
we know we have a quick way out if we
Yeah.
need, I guess.
Yeah. How can we find this place again?
So let's.
Doesn't one of you have keen mind or something?
well, in level 2 there's an archway that corresponds to it.
I think she.
So-
She has observant. I'm not sure if that.
No.
Yeah. Well, do you guys want to rest
No,
and you can
do
go
it.
fight this fucking thing?
Let's do it.
Rest. Oh, you guys need a nap.
I spent a
not-
spell slot.
Heard that. Let's take it.
Fight this Neolith thing?
Well, it's the only way out of this to go down.
Right.
We could probably maybe find another way out if we went back up and then did a whole loop-de-loop.
No,
But
let's
that seems,
fight it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This thing is gonna be a tough fucking fight, though.
Let's fight it.
Okay.
Um.
I mean, but we're level 13. And there's 4 of
True.
us at level 13.
Sayla's become
shit,
so
that's
good
good.
that she's just like, I'll help anyone.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love it.
She doesn't have
Not
any armor
everybody.
anymore or weapons, but she's still
Yeah.
pretty like.
That's part of the oath, man.
You're talking me into
That's
it.
redemption, man.
It's a big
Well-
deal, man.
You have
Man.
one meal, the young
Yeah,
man.
man.
Lady,
Sorry, man.
excuse me.
Dale's pretty into it, but you'd probably rather take the portal up to level 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's true.
We're not
Well, if
doing
you want
that.
out, now's the time. Okay.
It was a
She would
joke.
say that to you, too.
Yeah.
He would say it was a joke, and you know that. Jesus.
And
What do
she,
you-
then she would
Well,
like, she would like kneel down and still be like,
Here,
okay, good friend.
here's what that archway represents in terms of like what you guys can do is that there are other things in Waterdeep. There are
Yeah, no,
who,
sure.
what happened to Macus? What is like there are other like you know potions and like you can stock up if you needed to. It's now you've got kind of an easy way. You still have to go an extra level, so it's not super time sensitive.
Potions.
I know. I mean,
It's like
it
regular.
means like going to a shop.
Yeah, I mean, like you can go.
Or we
you
can-
have all that gold and stuff. You were like, oh, I don't know what I can do with all
Also,
this
we
crap.
could also go
Pretty
to
sure
level
I
2, then
stored
down
that
to
gold
3
somewhere.
to Skullport.
I
Isn't that what it's
stashed that
called?
gold in the
Skullport,
Xanathar.
if we had to. But I don't think we need to. I mean, I've got 65 lay on hands points. Shit.
It's not all
It's
of
gonna
our
be
I cast
one
false
hit
life
for
on
this thing.
myself.
Yeah, that is not all of our HP.
Well, we don't want to. Okay, we can go back up and buy stuff.
I'm down. I don't have to get close to it.
Oh, I'm gonna die a lot, and that will be the tankiness of it.
Yeah.
So it'll be perfect.
Well, you guys haven't figured out how to turn it on, anyways. So
Turn what on?
The
archway.
Turn the Neolith on?
The portal.
The portal to go to level 2.
No, we don't want to
It's
go.
normally a puzzle, isn't it? You saw?
You said that.
You did.
You did.
As a joke earlier, I said
Oh
that.
my god.
I think you're
As a
fine.
joke, yes, I did say that. Yes.
yeah, Taylor just said go sell the ship in the bottle.
That's
Ooh,
true.
that's probably worth a lot of money.
Let's keep that though. I like that.
It's pretty dope.
Because we use these characters in another campaign.
Do you think
Let's just take the ship in the bottle and
you
we'll go be
think
pirates.
Macus has stolen all of my silver?
Didn't
Where
sound like you were
is
totally
Hallister?
I
curious.
think the greater treasure would be to find that
That's what I
chalice.
want to know. Where's Hallister?
Well, I mean, I just don't have any more. There's no reason to go up.
Well, here's a real brain bender.
Oh yeah.
Who's Macus? Think about it.
Macus is not himself.
Yeah, and you know that Mother
He's
and
the-
the Extremitor are like have something to do with that. They didn't explain any of that to you.
Is,
Oh, I'm gonna go talk to him.
is
Hey.
Let's
Macus
just go.
is
Is he talking?
Macus now the Mad Mage?
I don't know. No.
Is he
What?
not?
No.
Can I go
No.
talk to them?
No. That
No, they're gone.
he did declare himself the Xanathar, and
That's
then
what I was
we
thinking.
just learned that was all a ruse to get you guys to
Right,
steal
right.
a thing
Ruse.
that they needed to go after
It
Hallister.
was a ruse.
So, where are you going? You going to go back to his chamber, or are you going to go find Mother?
I thought you said Mother was here.
She went
She
back.
went to
She
go
went
out.
back towards the dynamo.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find Mother.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, as soon as you walk across the dynamo basically has a suspended bridge in the middle of it, like a crossway, and then underneath is like the roaring like thunderous river. So it's kind of hard to hear when you're underneath it or on top. Sorry, above it when it's underneath you. And as soon as you like round the corner, she just like steps out of the frame, like she was just waiting for someone to like kind of walk too far into the complex, even though the exterminator said you could walk around as much as you wanted. She just looks at you. Are you guys all? Did you all go with her, or are you all hanging back at the camp?
Probably would follow you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sailor runs off, and you all are like, oh,
Yeah.
Sailor.
I'm kind of the leader.
Yeah. So everyone follows. He didn't go. She didn't have to go too far. You guys aren't. You guys are only maybe 100 feet at camp away from the dynamo. So it would only take you a couple of minutes to walk over there. So
Please tell me.
Yeah.
What happened to my brother? Where's Marcus? Where's the real Marcus?
He said, still alive in a sense. And then she looks back at the chamber where you guys were in the room with the back in the chamber with the room that the exterminator was like operating ultra deep at the connecting table. What are you guys doing?
I was just wondering why I wanted to move because the thing was over my face.
Yeah, it was on your face.
Couldn't see how cute it was.
See how good you are.
So you asked what
Where's my brother?
yeah, and she's being cryptic. Like she's not just gonna tell
Can I
you.
make a
things.
persuasion?
Sure.
Cool. I'm gonna do that. I'm also going to channel my divinity, an emissary of peace.
Mhm.
It adds a +10 to this persuasion.
Oh, use that interesting ability.
I'm gonna use an inspiration
Wow.
point because that's in that one. Because I want to use this.
Yeah, do it.
Well, that would help you reroll in that one, right?
That is a 22. Oh yeah, we do use your.
What?
I rolled in that one. Can
Oh,
use your.
yeah.
Cool.
I don't need it.
What did you say again? I'm sorry.
22. If that doesn't work, I'm gonna use a hero point.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. You're just trying to persuade her
Yeah, I
to
like. I
tell
literally
you
like.
more about.
I literally like.
Yeah, so
like
she-
my eyes are gonna well up and like, please.
She says.
Will you marry me?
She says that Macus was replaced by his brain was replaced by an intellect devourer. It is an unfortunate happenstance of our situation. She says we were not trying to hurt any of the humans on this plane, but we needed agents in the city to collect information. But she says then the exterminator created Ultradeep, so he wouldn't have to do that anymore. So Macus allowed us to be able to not have to cultivate as many helpers.
It doesn't tell us where he is.
What did you want with the Sigma Stone?
It says the Primus Rock.
No, that's okay. I'm sorry.
The Primus Rock is instrumental in destroying the Guardian of the Terminus level below us, the Halleck's father. We couldn't go into the vault, remember, because creatures had to be from this realm.
What did you find out about the Neolith?
Oh, she says a little bit.
She just is kind of gonna glaze over the rest of the Macca stuff because she realizes what that means, and she's not gonna be really emotional about it. So she's gonna move on.
She implies that Macus' brain, that his soul, or some semblance of it, is alive inside of the Ultradeep construction. She says that all their personalities are preserved inside of there. Anyone that they had to use for this endeavor. And once again, you see that look on her face. She kind of like doesn't break because she's not really human, but you can tell she has a look of determination on her face, and she basically voices her concerns about the exterminator being slightly obsessed with living inside of SUPERDEEP. Like, he's in it too much. He's, like, addicted to it.
Yeah, kill him.
Might as well.
What?
There you go.
No.
Just kidding.
We're not going to murder our host.
It's against the rules.
Jeez. How many
You're
times do
no
we have
fun-
to
you're
talk
not-
about this?
It's not fun anymore. Your relationship's really suffering because of her change of heart. She says that the creature already knows that you are in its vicinity, can't move, and she gestures the opposite direction down, basically like an arch, like a ledge on the side of the cavern. You can see it opens into a cave that's kind of offset, and that's where the layer is. That's where the tunnel is. And she says it already knows you're here, so there's no use trying to hide from it. She said that it's made of the same type. It's the same type of creature as a mind flayer. It's just mindless. So it can do things that with its mind that not even we know the full capability of, because it can tap into stuff. It can just like produce, but mostly it just is hungry. That's all. It just is consumed with eating brains.
Ooh, what if we use...
That's it.
About to medic.
Do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go for it.
let's talk about it. Let's talk a strategy.
Talk about
real quick, yeah.
What if we just use Dell as like some sort of bait, since he's like...
Well, honestly, that's not a bad idea, because if you cast the radiance spell, what's it called?
Sickening radius?
Yeah. If you cause it to have extra exhaustion, I mean, that's a way
Because
to...
it can't move.
Because it can't move. That's a way to kill it, and you could just make a lot of high
Go
checks
kite
and
it,
dodge
yeah.
checks and disengages and stuff. If you keep it busy, hope maybe we could run it out its exhaustion, and then I'll be there to like
I
heal
can also
and
activate
boost.
my
She'll tell you
shroud,
this
so
about
I
about Benilo. If you are an appropriate, she says you are strong enough to take it on. She says you're the first group I've believed that you might actually have a chance with.
Let's go fucking fight this thing. That really got me pumped.
She says so much so. She says that I'm going to give you something in the hopes that it will. That we can get out of this place and we can rejuvenate the colony. She's afraid that the colony will not be started again because he won't want to leave his video game.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And let's see. Where did I put that binder? It's in here.
Plus, today's a good day.
Let's go fight it, man. Let's go fucking fight it.
John has so many lives. I say that every time you guys do anything. That's funny. All right.
Basically immune.
She pulls out a weapon. She offers it to you because you're the one who's talking to her, not really thinking about, not knowing anything
Yeah.
about your situation. Honestly, seeing that you have no weapon, she's like, you might need this. She pulls out, it's a dagger. It's in a very ornate case. Think that like Valerian steel dagger.
Yeah.
that old Arya Stark did a spoiler alert with.
No.
I'm all
Winky,
cut up.
winky. Winky winky. She
That
says.
was so amazing.
She says
Oh my god, I cried so
that
hard.
this requires
Exploding
like
in the
she says this blade. Sorry, I'm just trying to give it. Doesn't have any flavor, so I'm trying to figure
cried
out the flavor.
harder over Liana. I was really proud of Arya, but I cried really hard over Liana.
Yeah, that was really sad, but that was a badass death.
This
She
blade,
was a little tiny guy.
once it finds its mark, will thirst until it takes the life that it's that it wants to claim.
I take it from her
Mm-hmm.
and I literally toss it over my shoulder.
All right.
Great.
Do you grab it?
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Do you want to attune to it?
If I can attune to it.
Yeah, we're still in.
Dude, you can.
Right down.
Level
You can
13.
go, you go off somewhere and you sit down and you're going to
Play with it.
yeah. Attune
So
to
I
it.
was rolling
It is
positive dice
it's
roll.
Sure.
we'll do other stuff, and I'll come back and I'll tell you about what it
Okay.
does. Because you're kind of feeling it out,
Yeah,
taking it out, and doing flips and tricks and little.
Roguey stuff.
2 on the nose for me right now.
Um,
2 literal penis jokey for me.
It's my lordly might.
Lordly
Oh my
might. Kaylin's lordly might. It's all one thing.
I'm upset. I'm uncomfortable.
Okay. And she says that's basically that's all she has.
Ruby.
Awesome. Thank you.
Um,
Thank you. We will do our best to crush this monster.
says,
Monster.
she says this monster isn't the real problem. She says,
Oh, I know. Alistair Blackcloak. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
I get that right?
yeah,
Don't sleep, don't.
Is
she's
the real problem.
yeah. She said that
Your memory isn't the problem, it's your confidence.
Mm,
No, because you were like, I have it, right? I have it.
on point.
okay.
Yeah. 2 on the nose for
So
me.
what is
Touche.
the game plan? We take a long rest and then we go, or are we just gonna go after it?
I'd like to take a rest because I want to have enough stuff.
Spell slot.
For here. I don't know. It's up to you guys. If you guys don't want, don't.
I
care about
don't
that.
need a rest, but I don't. I'm fine either way.
Or
I could
should
get
we
it back
just go
another
fuck-
hit
Should we
die.
just go fucking fight this?
Right? If we take a long
Yeah, if you
rest.
take a long rest, you're gonna hit die back.
I have not
You
been
had
full
for a
hit
minute,
die
yeah.
in a long
I
time.
love that. I love that.
Okay, then let's take a rest.
I won't be at full either, but
You have to take out a 10-day to get your
groovy. But I get 1 every long, right?
I think that.
I
was
guess
what
I-
you said.
yeah, you get one every long.
Yeah.
Still bad. I was thinking about changing that, but I think I'm gonna keep it because I think
No, that's gritty.
Yeah.
I don't want to change it for this either.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys want to do long rest then, so you guys head back to the chamber and you're gonna rest. Do you want to take watches? Like how comfortable do you feel here? I mean that's really up to you.
I'm
Oh
100%
no, I don't
I'll
even
take a
need a
watch.
watch to tell time. I know internally exactly what the time is.
It's like a mom joke.
You can have my
I think
watch.
she just made a pun at God. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
He thinks I'm very funny.
There are no gods up here.
Okay, so you're gonna take a watch.
I'll take one.
Okay, cool. So who wants to go first? Watch.
I'm gonna go sleepy bye.
I'll go first.
All right. Roll a d20.
Flat.
Mhm.
11.
Yeah, you sit there, and the chiming of the crystals actually really puts you in a very centered place, and you're getting a lot of it intergalactic interference from the Shadowfell, and it's not affecting your magic in any kind of negative way, but it is making you feel a little more a little less tired than you have been, and a little more put together than maybe you have in a couple of weeks now. And then you can go to sleep, and Dell will take second watch. Roll d20.
15.
Yeah, nothing but the same kind of this kind of ethereal glistening in the air, chiming. Nothing. You don't see anything out of the ordinary. You do see the exterminator at one point moving around the dynamo, but I mean he lives here, so you just kind of watch him. He does not look at you guys or make reference to you or come anywhere near your encampment. He's just it's just looks like a brainwave at 3 o'clock in the morning just hit him, and he's starting to do them. Everyone, while you're resting, if you'll roll me a an intelligence saving throw, please.
Everyone that's resting right now.
Everyone who, since you're all going to get a full night's sleep, go ahead.
Sorry, say that again.
You're just going to roll an intelligence saving throw while you sleep. 20?
23.
11.
19.
Cool.
7.
Cool. Sleep like a baby. Sleep like a baby. As a matter of fact, you can get an extra hit die, both of you, if you're fight or flight wasn't kicking in as
I
much.
felt strangely calm.
You don't feel that in your sleep, and you have a nightmare, both of you. And in this nightmare, you're in a room, and it's filled with the sounds of moaning and wailing, but it's not the sound of a voice. I think the stream just dropped out again.
Oh.
I think we're still doing sound, but it looks like it's frozen. We'll see.
Looks
Going
like
back.
it's frozen. It looks like.
Let me see if I can't refresh the screen real quick. I'm not going to turn anything off. We're just going to.
That's how it goes.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. We'll do a little bit this last little bit, just audio, and then we'll take a break. We'll cut the stream. We'll launch it with a part 2 video. Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, Taylor says we're frozen. So, well, I'll finish explaining this thing because I don't want to ruin the brainwave. But you are. That's perfect because we're having a dream anyways. So you are in a space, and it's not a screaming, but it's this interference. It's this ringing in your head, but it's the sound of creatures crying out in pain. And you look around the room, and you feel that you can feel your body. It feels scarred and like lumpy, and not an alien and not your own. And as your eyes kind of adjust to this space, and you kind of flash in and out of this dream, you look around, and you see mind flayers, and they are strapped to the walls. They are strapped to tables. Some of them are missing half of their heads, like their craniums have been carved out. Some of them look like they're linked together. Their tentacles ripped apart and then used as crude wires to link their brains together and hook them into the walls of this room. And it's definitely somewhere inside the dynamo. And then when you wake up, what a horrible nightmare. But I don't know how much credence you'll give to it. I'll let you decide how much that is, and if you even talk about it with each other. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to end this stream since the video's frozen. I'll relaunch my software, and then we'll start with a part 2 video very soon, maybe like 10, 15 minutes. Stay tuned, and we'll see if they get eaten by Mind Flayer while they sleep.
Oh!
Yay!
I love Mind Flayer.
Rainy?
She's
Stop.
a Wiki tonight.